안녕하세요. That means hello in Korean. I'm not positive if I said that right. Usually I just mumble the beginning and say aseo. It seems to go pretty well. People seem to understand me, or at least feign understanding. Let's see, some other words that we know are thank you, 감사합니다. How to tell a taxi driver here, like stop here, is 여기요. When you're in a restaurant, you can call people over by saying basically hey you, which means 저기요. We know how to say yes, which is just 네. And then I'm pretty sure that's it. We really don't know much. We barely get around, but that's how we do it barely. It's actually really funny if you hear anyone speaking on the phone, whether it's on a bus or in the school, the entire conversation is 네, 네, It's a lot of fun to listen into. You pick up a lot of Korean that way. Starting teaching at the school was really interesting because there was no orientation whatsoever. They brought us to the school the day after we first got here, and they drove us to the school and said, okay, you're teaching English. And when I asked, what exactly am I teaching? They said, you're teaching English speaking. And I said, right, but what materials am I using to teach them? No, you're an English speaker. Just teach them how to speak English. All right, here we go. So, unshowered and jet-lagged, I started teaching English. It was extremely nerve-wracking at first. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I kind of faked it till I made it, and I'm doing pretty good now. So is Claire. We're really getting the hang of it. So it's kind of the nice part about our schools, especially mine. You have a lot of freedom. You don't really have any specific materials. But then again, that is also the challenging part because I have no structure, no set rubric. I have to make it myself. I have to do my own lesson plans, and I don't really have a lot of time to do lesson plans. So they're definitely working us a lot, but the challenge is worthwhile for sure. It's very interesting. I teach kids and older kids. The ages range from about 8 years old to 22 years old. The average age is about 11 to 14, though. Age actually works differently in Korea. When we are born, we are age 0, but when they are born, they are age 1. And then everyone celebrates their birthday together on the new year. So, if I'm born April 19th, which is my birthday, I would be 1 year old, and then on January 1st, I would be 2. So generally, everyone here is, when they tell you an age, that's a year and a half to 2 years older than they actually are Western age. So whenever you ask someone their age, you always have to say, is that Western or Korean? The majority of the classes that I teach are speaking classes. So if we get off topic, it's really not a big deal to me because we're still speaking English, so why not? The girls especially love to get off topic. My older girls are constantly trying to ask me about Claire and if we're getting married and when we're getting married and what it's like to live with her and what Claire is like and if I have any other girlfriends and how many girlfriends I have had in my life and what it's like to date in America. Yeah, you get the picture. I usually give them straightforward answers. It's really difficult for Koreans to comprehend that Claire and I live together and aren't married. That simply doesn't happen here, like ever. Very taboo. So I've been telling more and more of my students that we're just married just to make it easier because the ones that I told we weren't married, they gave me this face like we were doing something atrocious, and I try to explain to them that in the West, it isn't a big deal. We move in together and we actually think it's a better idea because before you spend the rest of your life with someone, you want to know if you can live with them, if you're compatible. This still has not seemed to strike a chord of logic with them, but I'm trying, doing my best. Pretty much my only rule in my speaking classes is no Korean speaking allowed. Again, if we get off topic, it's not a big deal. Especially in my younger classes, this is really hard. They just love to play games and shout at each other and generally be kids and have fun. Since they don't have a lot of free time, I feel like they want their English Academy to be their free time. So, I give them a lot of leeway because they really don't have any leeway any other place in their life. But I've developed this system. It was actually a version of a system that I had seen another teacher use, that every time a child speaks Korean, you put a point on the board for them, and whoever has the most points at the end of the day has to sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, which is really, really embarrassing to them. What it turned into, though, was just whenever a kid would speak Korean or whisper Korean, even if I didn't hear it, all the other kids would say, "Teacher, Teacher Eric, teacher, he spoke Korean, he gets a point." And that just disrupted the class more than if they were speaking Korean. So I added to the system that if you tattle on each other, you get a point. So you get a point for speaking Korean and for tattling on each other. I think that's a really good life lesson too, because I don't want them tattling on everyone when they get older. For some reason, kids here love to tattle on each other. It's amazing how they take it upon themselves to create fairness. If someone didn't do their homework and they're doing it very quickly, they don't just let them do their homework. They scream, "Teacher, teacher, he's doing his homework. He didn't have it done." They're very proud of the work they do, and they don't think that someone else should get away with points even though they didn't do their work. So, no tattling, no speaking Korean. There is a kid in one of my classes named Tommy. He's one of the brightest students I have. He's probably like 9 years old. Every single time I turn my back, he's either making a funny face or doing some type of strange, like, chicken flapping movements just to make the other kids laugh. He makes this face a lot, something like this. And he kind of like just looks around. And he makes that sound. Honestly, I think it's hilarious. I think it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm not allowed to encourage it for obvious reasons. I guess it's just the class clown in me. I think he's so funny. But again, I always have to give him a point if he's disruptive, even though I secretly don't want to give him a point, and I want him to keep making those funny faces. He makes this kissy face too, where he does something like this. Again, I'm a grown-up. I'm not allowed to do that. It's horrible. Basically, the end of class has just turned into Tommy singing time. And what I've done, because singing head, shoulders, knees, and toes wasn't exactly a big deal to them, I made the rule that however many points you have, the winner has to sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes that number of times. So I've had classes where Tommy had to sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes 10 times. It actually seems to be making a difference now. I don't get any kids over 3 or 4 points. 4 points seems to be the maximum number, and then they really start behaving because they don't want to sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes that much. So yeah, I've actually turned around after writing a word on the board and saw Tommy flapping his arms like a chicken and pecking another student's head as if he was eating grain or something. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But yeah, I had to refrain from laughing and ask him patiently, "Tommy, please take a seat. I don't know what you're doing." I knew exactly what he was doing. It was freaking hilarious, but I had to ask him to stop. He's also trying to read any text that I give him in this old English woman's voice. Always. Every single time until I ask him to stop, he'll do this. "Yesterday was the same day I had a birthday." It's so weird. It's so strange. He's awesome. I generally call my younger students my little monkeys or minions, which is a lot of fun because every time I call them monkeys, like, "All right, monkeys, let's get started," they all just start making monkey sounds like, "Ooh, kiki, ooh." And, they spend a good 30 seconds doing that, and that kind of gets a lot of energy out of them, I feel like, and then they're ready to participate. Little secret things like that where they think I'm letting them get away with something, but really I'm just trying to make them tire themselves out. I also call them, like I said, little minions. And whenever I say little minions, I don't know what they think a minion is. I've explained it to them. They don't understand. They just go like this. Whoa, whoa. One of the most interesting things the younger kids have taught me so far is a game called Dry Tongue. They told me that if they're bored, they don't have a toy to play with, they don't have a video game to play with or anything, something that all kids in Korea do is stick their tongue out and let the moisture in their tongue dry out. They said they do it for up to about an hour. and it's a game that you play with yourself to see how long you can go. When I asked why would they torture themselves this way, they kind of cocked their head and really surprisingly said, "But teacher, it's fun." And I said, "It's fun to dry your tongue out?" "Yeah, it's a lot of fun." And they all stuck their tongue out simultaneously with smiles on their face. And I wasn't sure if they were pulling the old chain, so in the next class, I asked my group of older students, "Have you guys ever heard of the game Dry Tongue?" And they all got crazy excited and said, yeah, Dry Tongue, and just stuck their tongue out. Hey, every community has their game, right? But in Korea, they like to play Dry Tongue.